I do see Bitcoin eventually heading to, 200,000-300,000 plus.
Hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Dan Tapiero discuss about Bitcoin and other crypto. According to Dan Tapiero, see somewhat of that. I don't think it's hard for Bitcoin to be similar to put it as in a $5 trillion asset, and gold is 12 or 13 trillion. The overall value of all financial assets is 5, 6, 700 trillion. Therefore, you should be aware that a little portion of the Bitcoin market is overall market value of all assets worldwide. Yes, that's accurate right now. Tapiero believe it to be 800 billion or 700-800 billion, and it's unquestionably an established asset that has been accomplished network effect. You are aware of it available for, well, almost 15 years, and lots of things Dan Tapiero discuss, so please watch the video to end and share this video, and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance. Thanks.
I think many traditional people will, and they've been waiting for it. They're not comfortable, I guess, opening up an account on Gemini or Coinbase for whatever reason, and they want to see the Bitcoin position in their stock portfolio. Maybe they get, they're able to leverage it in their stock portfolio, or maybe they just want to see all their assets on one page, right? Traditional guys like to see. But I think there's going to be massive interest. Absolutely.
Well, you wouldn't consider a proxy to Bitcoin, like let's say a Bitcoin miner, or let's say a company like MicroStrategy that holds a lot of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I would. Everyone, especially individual investors, have different risk tolerance, different preferences, different goals for their portfolio. So I just, I think, Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, I think he's fantastic. It's a very nice way to have some leverage Bitcoin. He's been absolutely right. I think he's going to be proven to have really been sort of one of the great, it's sort of funny, I'm sure he doesn't think of himself this way, but as like macro investors out there. I do see Bitcoin eventually heading to, 200,000-300,000 plus. Sort of, over the next 5+ years. So,
sorry, how did you derive that number?
Well, I sort of see, I really don't think it's difficult for Bitcoin to be like let's call it a $5 trillion asset. Gold is, I think, 12 or 13 trillion. All financial assets out there, total assets, I think is 5, 6, 700 trillion. So, could Bitcoin be, some small percent of the total dollar value of all the assets in the world out there? Sure. And so right now I think it's 800 billion or 700-800 billion. It's definitely an established asset. It's achieved network effect. It's been around for, I don't know, so almost 15 years. And I would say the same for Ethereum. Ethereum has been around now for 8 years. They've very strong network effect established. I just think that you're going to see massive flow in from areas where there's been tremendous hesitancy, especially in the US. Remember this, 85% of total world cryptocurrency trading volume is done outside of the US. This is not a US asset. And so I think that it's inevitable that US institutions and other investors come in and allocate 3%, 5% of their portfolio to assets in this space.
According to Dan Tapiero, performance of Bitcoin, look at its performance from 2010 to 2011, and even from late 2008 to early 2009. Consider this. The Nasdaq has actually decreased by 99% in comparison to Bitcoin. Nothing that H essentially owns that hasn't decreased 99%. As Bitcoin has a 200% return if you look at it. Since its inception, annually, it has completely killed every single another resource that is available. And since Ethereum's creation in 2015, Tapiero believe it has done the same thing. Let's back to the Dan Tapiero interview.
No, because if you look at the performance of Bitcoin, let's say going back to its beginning, or even start, forget about, late 08, early 09, even start looking at its performance from 2010, 2011, the NASDAQ has actually gone down 99% against Bitcoin. So think about that. There's no asset in the world essentially that hasn't gone down 99%, right? Because Bitcoin's return, if you look at it 200% annualized, right, since its inception, it's destroyed absolutely every single other asset in existence. And I would say Ethereum has done the exact same thing since its founding in 2015. So I don't think it's that. I think, for instance, I think in the next 5 to 7 years, I could easily see the NASDAQ doubling in price from here. If the NASDAQ doubles from here, I think Bitcoin will be up 10 to 20 times from where it is today. I mean, 10 times would be 400,000, but it could potentially be much higher.
Right, but that's the point I was trying to make, Dan, is that it just seems to be a high beta play on tech stocks. If the NASDAQ moves up, 200%, Bitcoin's going to go up 10, 20x. So couldn't I just recreate that result by, creating a margin account and trading the NASDAQ on margin, for example, or buying levered ETFs on the NASDAQ? Wouldn't that fundamentally be the same idea here?
The reason, not really, because if you're levered on NASDAQ and NASDAQ goes down 30% every other year, right? If you're levered, you're wiped out. So no, that's not a good idea. If you go 5 times levered and it goes down 30%, you're done, right? I mean, if you're 3 times levered, you're done. So no, I don't think it's the same bet. Yeah, no, I don't at all. I think they're connected because blockchain technology that underpins Bitcoin, the code, I mean, obviously it's technology, so there's some link, right? It's not, tech stocks that do other things in the tech world, maybe it gives you more of a diversified type of exposure than NASDAQ to developments in the tech world. But listen, I think that the total addressable market, the TAM, for this digital asset ecosystem is enormous. It's hundreds of trillions of dollars. What do I mean by that? I think everything of value that exists in the world, everything you own, probably within 10 years, will sit on a blockchain and reside in this digital asset ecosystem. So I think everything will eventually be tokenized. And as far as I can see, it's really the digitization of money and value. The internet, as an example, was just sort of the digitization of information, and maybe ideas and words, not really ideas and information. But this is the digitization of value and money. I mean, that's going to be worth tens, if not hundreds of trillions of dollars. So there's some linkage, but the risk reward, I think, in the digital world is much greater. I think that started to happen already in El Salvador. So you should look at the detail around that. I think it's already started to happen in El Salvador. I think that, in Argentina, already tremendous number of people own cryptocurrency of one sort or another. As their currency has gone down massively in the last 5 years, I think people, and this is sort of documented, and own not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, almost any cryptocurrency in the top 10 has outperformed the RG peso. So I think that, I think this president is a supporter of Bitcoin. I think, look, amongst the fiat currencies, the dollar is always going to be preeminent. I don't see the dollar. It can have a bear phase, go down 10, 20%, but it's, its supremacy sort of amongst all the other fiat currencies, that's not changing. But remember, the dollar has also gone down 99% against Bitcoin in the last 10 years, right? If you had taken all your dollar savings 10 years ago and put them into Bitcoin, let me tell you, your life would be a lot different today than 10 years ago. I'm not saying the same return profile is going to be mimicked, but I do think that your purchasing power of your dollars or your Canadian dollars is really hard to hold up against a Bitcoin or ETH position.
According to Dan Tapiero, save that the blockchain technology, that is, the code, underlies Bitcoin. It's technology, of course, so there's a connection. But it's not tech stocks in the AT sector that perform additional functions could provide you with a greater exposure to a wider range of topics than just the latest advancements in technology. Dan Tapiero believed that the overall market that can be addressed, the ecosystem of digital assets, has a massive TAM, trillions upon trillions of dollars. What Tapiero consider every aspect of value that exists in the world, and everything you possess will most likely be stored on a blockchain and be a part of this ecosystem of digital assets within 10 years. If you learned something from this video, then please like this video and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance, and we will meet in next video. Thanks.